I honestly don't know why we're not taught these key things at school. Why are we learning Pythagoras' theorem and we're not learning how to get on the property ladder?
I failed so many times. I actually got arrested when I was in Australia.
In case we reach a point where you definitely don't want to have any more kids, and I definitely do, I want to at least have the option.
Oh, bloody hell, look at your stilettos.
Are we rolling?
Yeah.
I've got slippers and you've got stilettos.
Yeah, both brown though.
Cool, look at them.
What do you think about them?
Quite nice. Where are you going after this?
Well, this is all for you. This is all for our he said, she said listeners.
That's baloney.
No, I actually was supposed to have a medical appointment. It's cancelled.
A medical appointment?
So
Is that how you go to a medical appointment?
I do.
Bloody hell.
Gets them to take me seriously.
Does it work?
I think so. We're actually both drinking this episode as well.
Well, I saw you clock me on arrival and you were like, ooh, that looks nice. Although this is the bottom of the cafetiere and it's all the sort of sediments.
And we don't have a table, so now I'm holding my cup really awkwardly.
Yeah, we need to change our
You
set.
know, actually, on every podcast that I've been on, I've not been allowed to take a drink into the recording session.
That's probably because the squelching, swallowing sound, which I don't know. I mean, I hate that sound.
The gulp, that's your major ick, actually, listening to other people eat. Is it just me, or is it others as well?
No, but you're a professional at doing it. It's
You know who's a really sloppy eater is my brother. He used to always eat with
So's your dad.
Like,
he
what is
he
wrong
really
with
enjoys the taste of his food, and I think he throws it around his mouth extra
Gross.
at extra speed to get more flavour.
And you always say when I'm really enjoying food that I lick my lips.
Yeah. That is a telltale sign for you.
The flavour off my mouth. So hideous.
I remember catching you on an airplane doing that one time. On the way on.
What, with aeroplane food?
No, you had some very salty Pringles or something, and you were just so into it.
That's so odd.
I remember catching you in the moment. It was quite funny.
You never mentioned that to me.
No, I actually did mention it to you. I remember because I was so taken back by it. Do I have any telltale signs? Oh, I do this, don't I? I'm like, ooh, with my hands.
Well, apparently,
if I'm like into a...
Your brother used to always say from watching you on Chelsea, when you often just look like you're smelling food.
No, that's when I'm annoyed.
When you're annoyed, you look like you're smelling food. You go,
Yeah, I'm trying not to blow up, so I'm like breathing through my nose like a dragon. I need to stop doing that.
I don't think you've ever done that on the podcast.
No, we're in the trust tree right now. This is a safe space.
Do I make you feel comfortable?
90% of the time.
That's not enough.
That's why we're
Have
doing
to
this.
Bring the therapist in.
Bring the action.
How's your week been? How are you feeling? You're looking good.
Do I look less puffy today?
Yeah, we've depuffed.
You've depuffed. You got a fake freckle on the eye as well.
Can you not tell people that that's fake?
It's all part of the fashion trends, y'all. Yeah, I'm all right, yeah. I need to get back training, though. Since coming back from the marathon, I've just not found my flow with training. And I feel like I feel kind of skinny, which is not great. And because I've got less of a beard and shorter hair, it's all looking a bit crazy right now.
Are we going to talk about what we did yesterday? You actually didn't shave your beard for it. It was all a bit of a rush, wasn't it? So we have hit 1 million listens, which is so exciting. And we decided that we were going to create a video, a cool viral video. And the other day, Ryan and I were sat having dinner and he said, can you pass the salt? And the salt was in the middle of the table. And I reacted, obviously. I was like, you fucking kidding me?
You took the bait.
I took the bait. And I didn't realise it was a quote from Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So then we thought that we would try and reenact that famous scene where they're sat at polar ends of the table to celebrate a special occasion.
So I think we look quite as good
And
as
it was really,
Angelina
really...
Jolie and Brad Pitt, but we gave it a go.
No, we'll see. Well, genuinely, guys, it could be
Your
really
lip
bad.
syncing was hilarious.
The worst part of it is that I felt, because I'd been at a shoot all day, I felt like I looked really good.
You did look good.
And I felt like I actually was Angelina Jolie. It's going to be an interesting one, and we might not be able to use it.
No, it will. It'd be funny.
It could be really bad.
You were like a mouthpiece, like trying to keep up the lip sync. It was quite funny.
But did I look hot as I was doing it?
Yes, you look like Angelina Jolie.
Did I actually look good? Good? Because I felt like I was her. So that was my version of method acting. Like I felt like I was moving like her. I was breathing like her. I was I felt like I looked like her and that I just embodied Angelina Jolie. But the problem is I'm obviously nothing like her and I'm really twitchy and she's cool and calm and serene.
They are
So
an outrageously attractive couple, aren't they?
I don't even know if they're still together.
Well, no, I don't suppose they are, but in that film they are.
Yeah.
Sweet Jesus. Yeah, so how are you?
I feel good.
Great.
First half of the first half of the cycle.
First half of
So
the
I'm
cycle.
feeling super alive, lots of energy. So this morning I was making my porridge.
Yes.
And I hate wasting food. So I decided to slide Leo's banana into my porridge and then popped it in the microwave. And then as I was eating it, as I was getting ready this morning, I saw stringy bits in it. And I thought it was just the banana or just the texture of the oats. Like,
Stringy bits in the porridge.
yeah, it was just very gluey. Anyway, then I realised that Leo had put a Baby Bell in his banana. So I basically ate porridge with Baby Bell this morning,
Oh, you
which
stuffed
is
it in the
really
banana?
gross. Yeah, and then I realised that I could taste cheese in my porridge and I'd already eaten all of it. Well, most of it. Yeah, so that's pretty rank. But no, good. I had a photo shoot yesterday.
What was that for?
For the website and just to get some headshots. I didn't realise that you have to basically, yeah, I've needed to get headshots for ages. It makes me sound like I'm a flipping
I didn't know that
actress.
there was a website for that.
I didn't realise that you have to pay photographers quite a lot of money to have access to the copyright of the images. So basically to have full usage of images. If I wanted to distribute them to press or add them on my website or put them on a billboard, wishful thinking.
You should have just got me to shoot you.
I know. You'd be so much cheaper.
Free.
Free.
Actually.
Yeah, but we've already established that you don't like working with me. I would never work for you. That's what you said last week.
I can take a photo of you if you want me to. I do take photos of you.
Well, actually, now we've got all these fancy lights downstairs. Maybe we leave them up and have a little studio.
Listen, I'm...
But it was good.
Okay, well done. How many shoots? How many looks?
Fucking loads. This is a recreation from yesterday because I got a lot of compliments and I said that I would bring it back. So the outfit I'm wearing today.
Brown and blue kind of works, doesn't it?
I think so. Do you know what's weird about that?
Is.
So one of my exes...
Oh, every episode. Here we go.
Sorry, I remember after we broke up, I went to an event and I wore a brown
Mike Thompson's
and blue
ringing me.
outfit.
Should we get him on the podcast now? Libby!
Why is he calling you?
This is not anything out of the ordinary.
Okay. What, he calls you every day?
Should I put him on speaker?
No. What, does he call you every day?
No, but he calls me pretty regular because
Well,
his own children don't answer the phone.
anyway, one of my exes, then current girlfriends, basically said to me that you should never wear brown and blue together.
You said the same about black and navy, I think, to me one time. And then I saw you do it recently. I was like, oh,
Oh, well, I guess
trends have
trends
changed.
change.
Yeah.
It was. Oh, now he's calling me.
Libby.
What's the day? Wednesday. Why is he calling? We saw him last night, for goodness sake. It was good. We got some amazing photos.
Yeah.
But I didn't really feel that myself.
Okay.
I was feeling good up here mentally, but I felt like my body has just changed a lot in the last week. You've noticed it. I've noticed it. It was really highlighted to me on the shoot. I couldn't really fit into many of my clothes. And I've made a joke about having a really big bump a couple of episodes ago and maybe it being down to the medication that I'm on.
Yeah.
But I think it's having a bigger impact actually on my whole body. And whilst it was quite funny to have a big bum and then the rest of my body be the same, I've sort of slightly swollen everywhere. And it was hard seeing such a big change in such a short space of time, given that I was only there in her studio 2 weeks ago and I felt really comfortable in my skin. And I was looking at these images. She'd actually got a new screen that kind of faced me as the images were firing. And I couldn't help, which is cool because then you can check your positions and stuff. But then I was being quite critical and everybody was being super supportive. And because I was feeling, all right up here, I was making a joke out of it. But my boobs just looked enormous in everything I was wearing. And I had this big shelf and I felt really boxy and quite top heavy. And I'm so small that I just didn't feel particularly feminine. And I ended up, we made it work because I wore things like this. So like big kind of baggy shirts and flared trousers, oversized clothes, which is nice because that's on trend. So I'm lucky. And I did a lot of blazer looks and like slightly more sophisticated things. But then when I tried to put on a dress, I just really didn't feel like myself. I didn't recognize myself. But anyway, I got through it. And actually, it was a really fun day because of the team that were there. We had a good time.
Well done.
Yeah, what else have we done? I feel like it's been a really busy week, but in a really good way.
Okay, go on.
I feel like we've got like a lot of plates spinning, but we're making progress and moving forward with things. So quickly, just to talk a little bit about the property update, we viewed 3 properties together on the weekend, on Friday. So we took the day off.
Yep.
We took Leo out of nursery and we went to the Cotswolds. We went to Oxfordshire. We saw three houses. We actually went to Estelle Manor first, which we've never been to.
Yep.
Did a quick 20 minutes there before the dogs got too chaotic and Leo knocked over every coffee. And that was quite nice. So we kind of started the adventure there and then we went all over the place, really.
Yeah, like 20, 30 minutes from there as the base.
So which was your favourite of the 3? The first one, just for a little bit of context, was a tiny cottage. I say tiny. It was
quite small.
It was quite small.
Yeah.
It was like a little hobbit house. So I don't know whether it would work for you and your massive like tombstone family. Not tombstone. Sorry. What's the one that you drive past to go down to your parents? Those big stones. Stonehenge.
Stonehenge.
You're like Stonehenge. Like you're all just like these big slabs of stone.
Just slabs of rock away.
It was really nice. It felt very safe, very comfortable. It was attached to other houses, but it felt a little bit too, like the garden was kind of long and thin, and maybe we could have got that in London. It didn't feel different enough.
No.
But it was so charming.
Yeah, it was very like Cotswolds with that brick and the whole aesthetic, but it was way too small and pokey. Didn't have a back like yard where we could play football or barbecue and things like that, or backing onto a field.
Yeah, that
and
was
actually
an
the view
issue.
from the top of the like where the bedrooms are upstairs, it wasn't a view so much. It was just like you're overlooking other houses and backyards,
Yeah.
which we've got that here.
I know. It actually felt less private than here.
I want something drastically different. We both want something drastically different.
We've
I
learned a lot.
want to roll up the window in the morning and just see like green fields
Yes.
and a cow or 2.
So that is now non-negotiable. You're really good because you asked the question, why are the people leaving? Like, why are they selling? Which I think is such a good question to ask.
I always ask that one.
And one of them actually said, that the couple were getting a divorce, but then I didn't believe them because I saw a Valentine's card. But you want to know
Maybe
why
it's a new
people are
lover.
moving on. But yes, that first one was probably a little bit too pokey. The main bedroom was in the eaves at the top of the house, and you would have had to do like an army roll to get in.
Second one I quite liked in many ways, but then on the drive home when we looked kind of back on the entire day, yeah, maybe not quite right in some ways, but very cool. Like new build,
Lock and key.
yeah, turn and key.
Is that what it is? Lock and key.
Turn key.
Lock it. That's what you do with a key.
Turn
you lock
key.
a door.
Just turn the key and you're in.
Is that what the phrase? The thing is all these estate agents have all these phrases, and I get a little jumbled because my brain is a jumble most of the time.
One of the estate agents
So
was an old client of mine,
that was so weird. So we pull up on the drive.
yeah, which is lovely, by the way. I was like,
It's just lovely. There's a
heaven.
nice courtyard
Through
driveway.
a gate into a driveway. Oh,
And then Ryan's face dropped, and I was like, "What?"
it didn't drop.
Yes, it did. I thought that you'd slept with her.
As if.
No,
mate.
honestly, you were like, "Oh my god, I know that girl." Anyway, she was a
Can confirm I didn't sleep with her. She was a client of mine.
fitness client. What are the chances?
I
That's
know.
so weird. I'm sorry.
But that house was really quite nice. But
Except there was a room that stank of smoke, and she tried to pass it off as it being the sauna, and it was just a little bit too perfect because it was a development, so it was all new build. So it would be great because it would come with all the paperwork, everything would be within warranty. You wouldn't have to be throwing 50k at a new roof. Everything worked. House number 3, Rye Dog. Thoughts and feels.
absolute
Ryan hated it.
Shambles.
You can't-
I knew when we turned up. And on reflection, I was maybe a little bit too direct with my feedback to our friend Lucy, but I just knew I do have quite a strong like gut response to places, which I'm sure you do as well. But you're just way more polite.
I am very polite. I've been trained well. I think the main issue was that this house was on a massive hill. So when we drove up, I mean, basically, you couldn't stand outside the hill without rolling down it. Like, if Leo was trying to play football, he'd go out of the door, put a football there, and then he'd just be running down the hill within a second. And that's not really going to work for us.
No.
And again, there was no space. And the tiny windows, I think it was quite traditional for them to build Cotswolds houses with really small windows.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Maybe a bit of a heat preservation thing.
Maybe.
I have no idea what I'm talking about.
It doesn't work for me, though.
It doesn't work for me.
I mean, that was sweet. That wasn't even in the Cotswolds. Wasn't that more Gloucestershire, that one?
I think that was heading towards Gloucestershire, which is where we then ended up. So we had this fantastic weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm laughing about the whole bed thing. So we stayed in this beautiful place called Gulliver's Hall, which we actually organised through Unique Homestays. We're really lucky. We have a great relationship with them. And they look after some fantastic homes in the UK. That was beautiful. And that was up towards Stroud, which is kind of on the border of Gloucestershire and Oxfordshire.
Yeah.
So nice to see the whole thing. Much more rolling hills in the AONB. Got the lingo now.
Louis just recycling chat from other people.
But the problem so we saw that, which sleeps 21 people, and then we set our bar quite high. They had massive gardens, like 3 different gardens. There were cows on the property. They had like a party house with a hot tub and a pool and a pizza oven and
that was lovely.
a barn that you could host a wedding. So now we might have up the budget, which means we're going to be burnt out. Yeah, we had actually a really fantastic weekend. Takes us quite nicely onto the he said.
What did I say?
You said, which is actually a really good question. How do you even buy a house?
How do you even buy a house?
And we've been talking quite a lot this week about the idea of adulting, and we're probably going to expose ourselves a lot here.
What do you mean?
Because I feel like I'm not an adult most of the time.
Yes, yeah, same.
And we wanted to talk a little bit about the things that you're not taught at school, like how to buy a house, how to get a mortgage,
Good place
wills.
to start.
What else? ISAs, investments, kids.
How do you buy a house? Because you've bought a few. I've never bought one. It's a bloody confusing, scary project, isn't it?
I honestly don't know why we're not taught these key things at school. Why are we learning Pythagoras' theorem and we're not learning how to get on the property ladder?
Basically, with things like that come up in life, these big, like, I don't know, getting married or having a baby or buying your first house or another house, with all these, I don't know, hidden secrets almost. There's not much conversation or pre-warn around any of it, is there?
Did your parents ever teach you about this stuff?
People go through it for the first time, they learn as they go, and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, what? Surely we can do something about this whole experience for other people coming through the same way. Your parents are from a property development background.
Never taught me any of this stuff.
I've never heard them facilitate or support any of this.
I know, but even when I bought the flat, that's why I never even told anyone when I bought a flat next door. There was no point. Wasn't going to get any help with it.
So are we going to set out to change the curriculum of school?
What would you like to learn at school?
Oh, mate. I touched on it last time, but my schooling experience was not that great. But again, a lot of it is down to the interactions you have with your teachers. So I had some subjects, some classes where I had amazing teachers and I really excelled, would be an exaggeration, but I did okay. And then there's other subjects and classes that I just could not connect with and I flunked in some kind of way. But I feel like school, I don't know, it focuses on the wrong area. I think it's a little bit too blanketed and templated for my style. And it's almost kind of like predetermined. You got to do this in order to go there, and then you're going to go there, and then you're all going to end up there. There's got to be another option and another way to do it. Not just school, but just life, actually. I've never been one for you'll know this well, I don't really like to just slot in with rules, regulations, and what's normal. And it's not because I'm a maverick or I like to break rules, but I look at it and I'm like, there's got to be another way, surely.
What, than going to school?
No, well, not so much going to school.
Apparently,
but
I
just
actually read something the other day where a lot of kids now don't want to go to school because of the whole COVID lockdown thing. And they see that their parents are now flexi working from home a lot. And they're going, well, you guys get to work from home, so can't we work from home?
No, I don't think I'm saying that. I think school is a great thing. But I think from my experience, it didn't it didn't teach me or support my development in the ways that I would have liked it to have done.
What do you think? It's a sort of one size fits all policy? Everyone's just got to follow this trajectory, do all the lessons, go from prep school to middle school to uni.
Yeah. Well, I just think as like a society, we put so much pressure right from the get-go. Like Leo's not even, he's just turned 3. He's already got about 15 schools that he's potentially going to as feeders to the next one. And it's like, it's already starting to feel quite pressurized and competitive and expensive. And then when you get to these schools, it just continues on. And then it's pressure around examinations, which is another thing we should talk about. Examinations and that whole style of testing children. And then after you go to school, there's like this flow. There's this mass herd of the same movement in the same direction.
Did you ever have like a careers lesson when you were at school?
Careers, yeah, but
I remember
I was
filling
like
out
15
a form.
and I was like, I'm not ready for this. Someone tell me, like, someone package this differently. I don't want to be rude about schools or
How would
teachers.
you see it?
How would I see what?
How would you do it if you could
School.
change it?
I would focus more on real life experiences, and I would focus more on the sort of makings of the person versus what the textbook says that, oh, if this child at this age should be able to do this or that. I wouldn't really focus too much on that. I would look at like where is this person at in their journey, in their development? What's their confidence like? What's their perspective on life? I don't know. I would take a lot more of a holistic approach with it, I think.
Like confidence building is definitely important.
Like failure, for example, that's a good place to start with. Like, I failed a lot at school, whether that's tests, examinations, maybe something smaller would be, I don't know, dropping the ball at rugby practice or missing a shot in football. I failed so many times, but what my school didn't do very well is make me feel that failure
is an important part of life.
Right. Instead, it was turned into this almost terrifying, intense experience, and ultimately that knocked my confidence as a kid going throughout school. So I had this fear of, I don't know, making decisions or backing myself or following my gut. And you have to go through experiences, you have to make decisions, and making bad ones is not necessarily a waste of time or a bad thing, because there's experience and knowledge to be learned from that. So all the mistakes and failures, so-called, that's just part of the journey. But school doesn't really give you that that version of it, which for me was not the most helpful.
I think you're also taught that like how you perform in exams, the subjects that you choose are going to define the rest of your life, and that it is the most important thing in the world. I did a degree in geography. I was supposed to do economics and geography. I dropped the economics pretty quickly when I realized I wasn't going to be a number cruncher, and I now don't even know the capital city of Hungary.
Budapest.
That's a example. Julia's off to Budapest tomorrow. It just popped into my mind. But I've never used those skills, but it was so bedded into me that was, the be all and end all. And I just then followed the grades. Like, I never stepped back to think about like what my passions were, where my creative geniuses lay. Yeah. Instead, it was literally fill out a form. I think it might have been an online form. And there were loads and loads and loads of questions. And then that determined what your career was going to be. I had friends that were told they were going to be a flipping ballet dancer. Yeah. It was all so
I also think
random.
Again, especially during, maybe I'll just make this personal to my own schooling experience, but it took for many years after my education at school and university to kind of understand that there's different forms of intelligence and you can slot into different categories and brackets. I knew that I wasn't particularly academic at school. So with the failures at school and the interactions I had with my teachers, it almost reinforced that, I'm not an intelligent person. So I went through a lot of my schooling years, university years as well, with this lack of confidence in my own academic intelligence. And then at some point in my life, as I guess many of us go through, you realise that there's different forms of intelligence, and it's about how you apply yourself and what you can offer in certain situations. And I kind of found out in my, early to mid-20s that my strengths on the intelligence spectrum falls more into like the emotional intelligence and reading a situation and being sensitive to people's emotions and feelings, which is fine. But at school, that was never like presented as an option. It was like, oh, well, if you're getting a C in maths, then you're doomed, my friend. You'll be stacking shelves. And I'm like, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, some of the most successful people I know didn't even make it to uni. I mean, my dad left school at 16.
So did mine. Your dad's more of a maverick. I mean, he didn't follow any of this system. He's turned out very, very well. My dad didn't either. He's had a good career in the army, and that's probably shaped him.
Well, not everyone's the same, are they? Like,
no.
Sam hated school. We were so different. I was like a golden grade A student, and Sam, I think, got what was it? It was a rude word for his A levels or GCSE results. I don't know. All like C's and D's and F's. You guys, you can work that one out. But
oh mate, I think I got a U one time in something. That's like unclassified. I think. As in, like, I think the teacher probably opened that paper and they were like, I'm not even going to make a start on this because this is terrible. I think that was in chemistry.
I was going to say, just all of this school talk and thinking about what we're not taught just reminded me of these lessons that we used to have in the last couple of years. I think they were called like not PPE, PSE, personal social education, something sexual education. We used to sit in a common room once a week and they'd wheel out this television on this frame and press play, play these really old school videos.
Yeah, we had the same.
And the themes were sex, drugs, alcohol.
Yeah.
What were the other ones? I remember someone once putting their hand up and going, I think my brother's tried mushrooms once. But we didn't learn anything useful.
No.
They were really crap.
I'll tell you what, we're missing the most obvious
But would
thing.
we actually have been able to handle? Okay, so here's the thing. Would we have, they were, at least the videos were funny. So we were watching people, like really awkward teenagers talk about like spots and like sex and fucking oral sex and stuff. Oh my God. And contraception.
Yeah, but can I just tell
and
you
I remember
something?
just finding it so gross. Like our teachers standing sitting there on the sofa
but that's
next to
them-
us
that's
while
them
people
taking-
are actually talking about oral sex.
That's the
I can't
teacher-
believe I've even just I haven't used those words since I was 15 and sat in those common rooms.
That's the teachers taking the easy way out because they don't know how to communicate and have the difficult conversations with a classroom. So they're like, let me just wheel out this old TV and I'll sit behind it just cringing. That's the problem in
I
itself.
feel giddy. Like,
But
I
that's
actually
why
feel like a
that's
teenager
probably why
again.
people are prude nowadays. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I can remember like first seeing a condom and a dick on TV.
Oh my God, in like condom and banana
On
scenario.
bananas, yeah. And it's like, well, let's just maybe normalize it all and just talk openly about it from the get-go.
Isn't that horrendous though?
That's what I would change.
Imagine being a teacher
I should be
and
a sex
getting a
education
condom
teacher.
on a banana, getting all of your pupils to put condoms on, to like touch condoms and put them on bananas. Hideous.
That's, mate, I'm telling you now, school does not teach kids how to communicate effectively.
I know that I've made a lot of big mistakes in my life and I am willing to go into some pretty niche ones today.
Great.
But I'd love to know some of yours because I feel like you're quite a closed book when it comes to this sort of thing normally.
I had a few on my gap year. I actually got arrested when I was in Australia. That was probably a failure of judgment on that one.
You were drunk, right?
Yeah, I was absolutely hooned.
Were you scared?
No.
You weren't scared. That's my worst nightmare is being arrested and I think about it all the time. Can you tell us a bit more about the story?
Yes. It was Australia Day, which I think is in like mid to late January. Yeah, it must have been around then. Australia Day, and we were in Brisbane. And Brisbane, as the city, is linked by a big old bridge that goes to the Laguna Street Beach. So you've got the beach looking at the city looking at the beach. Everyone in Brisbane goes over the bridge, parties all day on the Laguna, and then come the evening time, everyone just stumbles back over this bridge and goes to the clubs and whatever else in the city. So me and my buddy who I was travelling with, we were just following the herd. Had a great day on the beach, in and out the water, playing with like Aussie rules, rugby balls and things. Anyway, we went over the bridge and we saw these two local guys who were as pissed as we were at this point. And they just dropped trowel, stood on the top of this railing of the bridge and just fucking launched themselves off. My friend just showed no signs of hesitation, thought it would be a great idea to follow them in. But the thing about it is that he hit the water, when he jumped off that top rail and hit the water, he hit it so hard that I thought he really hurt himself because he went so deep and didn't come back up for a while. And when he did come back up, he was quite still and silent. And I don't know if it was the shock or the pain or just the sudden realization that he'd failed with that judgment. But I, being the plonker that I am, just followed him straight in. So I took off my jeans, my top, followed him in, hit the water pretty hard. Current was pretty strong, whipped us up down the banks about 500 meters downriver. And we got kind of scrambled up these rocks to get out the river. Looked back up to the bridge, at which point it's lined with people who are just laughing at us, thinking like, you silly... They call English people pommies. Blue lights started to flash on the bridge. Police cars vroom, 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 going across the bridge. And I was like, oh my God, they're definitely coming for us. Anyway, scrambled up the rocks, entered this like car tunnel, which went down across away from the city, started running in our pants, completely soaking down through this tunnel, cars zooming past, police getting closer and closer. Me being like semi-pissed and quite confident. I was like, I think we might outrun these coppers here. Let's just keep going. My friend was like, fuck it. They can have me. So he just stopped and sat on the floor, waiting to be scooped up by these coppers, chucked us both in the back of this van, which was horrible, by the way. The Australian police cars, it's basically like this very ordinary car with what looks like a giant cool box on the back of it. Mm-hmm. No windows. They just slam you in the back of it. Cool box, dark. We arrive at the police station.
Wait, and you're like naked at this point?
Yeah, I'm in my boxes. We're both in our boxes, wet. Laughing our tits off, obviously. We arrive at the police station. They take us to an interview room. They sit us down in our pants, make us wait, give us a tea, interview us, bill us with this like $500 fine each, yellow slip. They then drive us back to the bridge, drop us off in the exact same spot, put our clothes on, and then we go clubbing.
Oh, you went out?
We went straight back out. So quite a funny story, but bad judgment, because later found out that river has bull sharks in it.
That's quite a story. Like, I don't know that many people that have been arrested.
That's good. That's probably a good thing.
Like, that is, I guess because you were drunk, you had extra Dutch courage, but that would be my worst nightmare. Like, I have an ongoing fear of being arrested. Like, that is, I've been through so much in my life and I've failed so much and I've had, I think, quite a colourful life so far for a 35-year-old. But the one thing that I really hope that I avoid for my entire life is being arrested or ending up in prison.
Do you know what?
Do you remember when the police, were you going to say when the police turned up here?
No, on the motorway. When I had three cars.
God. We've actually had quite a few run-ins. So one, we actually legitimately went down before the lockdown rules came back in. We drove down to Devon to spend Christmas with Ryan's family. But the timings were a bit like murky, I think. And when we got back, we had 2 policemen came to the door and we had like a house. We just like unloaded the car. We had presents and stuff everywhere. And you were like, who opened the door?
Me. They came in.
You opened the door and you were like, the police are here. And I literally shut myself.
You did.
And I immediately started crying, which is my reaction to anything. It's basically my like, actually I shouldn't say this out loud. If I ever end up in custody. But it's my like get out of jail free card. Like, please, if I cry, will you feel sorry for me because I'm innocent? I feel like I'm the most innocent person walking this planet. Like, I never do anything to intentionally do wrong. So that was so scarring for me.
Do you remember on the motorway as well?
So we were driving back from that retreat in Wales.
Yeah.
Was that on the way back from Forest?
Yeah.
Your friends?
And I had a police car tailing me for about 20 minutes. So I'm nervously driving the car, trying to follow the speed limit.
We'd come back from Snowdon. It was when we hosted that event and we'd all climbed up that mountain.
That's right, yeah.
I was about a month out from giving birth. So I was in the back of this car, hugely pregnant with 2 dogs. Yeah. Scott was in the front. You were in the front. You guys, to be fair, you were wearing like matching shell suits with caps on. But then...
Shell suit.
Then they pulled us over and we were like, what?
No. You need to tell a story better than that. That one car behind turned into 3 very quickly. So one stayed behind us, 2 cars, zoomed past, one cut in, and the other one edged me off the motorway. So 3 police cars ushered us off the motorway. like that. I was like, oh my God, what
Yeah,
is
they're like
happening?
sandwiches, and it was like something out of what's that daytime TV show that you
No,
weirdly,
they
by the way,
do
quite
film
like.
for that one.
And they filmed. Okay, wait, but firstly, what's that show called?
Oh my God.
Like Traffic Cops or
Traffic
something.
Cops, yeah,
like
yeah,
then
something
they
like
just
that.
like patrol the highways all
Yes, you
day
just
long
reminded
out in
me.
the
You just
countryside.
reminded me.
So it felt like we were in that show. And yeah, they did.
Turns out-
Okay, what's the thing that you mentioned the other day when runners create speed for the person running, like a chevron or like
a peloton.
a peloton? That was the cars literally started nailing us into the side of the road.
Nailing us.
I'm having a panic in the back because I'm literally about to give birth. And
I was like,
anyway,
oh my God.
then you guys didn't draw the window, like wind the windows down, so they were thumping against the window. And then what
I was in
happened?
panic mode. I was like, oh my God, I haven't paid my road tax or my insurance or something. Turns out that someone had cloned our number plate and that vehicle was flagging off on the cameras that it had been stolen.
No, but they actually pulled Scott out of the
Yes,
car.
I know they did.
Scott was in the passenger seat. This is our business partner for Turtle, and they pulled him out by like the scruff of his neck. They literally like threw him onto the side, and they took. I was quite scared because they took you boys off quite far away.
No,
like
I was
behind the car.
outside the car. You were still in the car. Scott was in another police car being
Oh,
interviewed.
they put him in the car.
Yeah. By the way, this whole story changed very quickly when they opened up the back seat and saw two dogs and Louise with a big belly, and they were like, "Oh my God, it's Louise Thompson."
No, they didn't. Wait,
No,
did they
because
know who
that
I was?
guy recognised you, and he was like, "Oh my God!" All the days that we're not filming for Traffic Cops, I put over Louise Thompson. I remember saying it. I remember him saying it.
So anyway, they did let us go, but they did tell us that someone had cloned our number plate, and someone had stolen our car. Someone
No.
had
They
reported.
cloned the number plate, and someone had stolen a vehicle, but used our plates as the
Yes.
sort of like the decoy plate.
So they were basically looking for us on our car with our number plate. They thought we'd stolen the car. Yeah, and then they told us that actually, because then they told us that they are the team that do normally film in that TV show.
Yeah.
And I have always wondered when I watch those shows. I don't really watch those shows, but you know the ones where it's like at the airport and they're
Oh yeah.
checking people's like strangers' suitcases
Yeah.
for drugs and stuff, or
Do you, when you go through customs, are you
Or when
holding
they
your
just,
breath
like-
a little bit? Are you like,
every time,
even though you've got nothing but
every
clothes,
time.
you're like,
Even
oh
if
my
I
God.
like race through the like big red sign bit which says nothing to declare, I think like, oh my God, I'm going to get pulled over. Like I'm doing something wrong. But I always wonder how they get permission from those people to feature them on the telly.
True.
And someone told me the answer. Is it that like if they do end up with a conviction, they're allowed to feature their faces and their names on TV? So they're allowed to disclose their identities. I think once they've figured out that they are actually a criminal. But they obviously can't if it's just, it's kind of in question.
Right. Okay.
We've definitely had some failures within our businesses.
Yeah.
We put ourselves in a tricky position with Turtle when we spent double what we meant to on building the app.
Yeah.
We've been left with a really incredible app with a great back end, but we couldn't afford to do it at the time.
But again, that was all part of the experience in some ways, and we've learnt so much from that failure, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I learned a lot from
Pocket.
Sport, my activewear line,
Yeah.
which I'm still not sure I've fully come to terms with, to be honest.
No.
It's something that I set up at uni, and it was a business that I spent a lot of time and energy on, and
But again, you
a
don't
lot
have to.
of
You
work
don't have
into
to, because
it,
it's not.
and then to end up liquidating it last year, feeling like I was slightly rushed into making a decision.
But is that a failure though? This is kind of where I'm at with the whole psychology and approach to failure. You learn a lot. You probably enjoyed a lot of it. Maybe made some money along the way somewhere.
I never paid myself. I've lost hundreds of thousands. I never took the money out. I'm the one person that never got my money out. I think there's more that I could say on this, and maybe we'll speak a little bit more about it
fine.
next week, but it's definitely a big one.
It might springboard you to do something later in life, and you won't make the same mistakes.
Yeah, I really took my eye off the ball with that one. I didn't have enough involvement with like the operations of the business, and I kind of trusted other people too much, and then realized actually when it came to trying to sell the business, in a bit of a desperate attempt at the end, having been really sick and not being able to put as much time into it over the last few years, we needed to claw back some cash. I started looking around in the business a lot more and realised that there were a lot of things that were not good. And actually there was very little documentation.
Yeah.
Very little, like they were just the bones of the business weren't really there. And and now as a bit of a reflex to that, I think I'm like an obsessive spreadsheeter because I'm trying to track absolutely everything I do.
Well, back to the things they don't teach you in school, how to build a business or a brand. Have you got a little something for us?
I've got many things for you, Ryan.
Whoa.
I've got a pretty deep listener submission this week.
Go on.
Okay.
I'm all ears.
She said, I want more kids. Hi, both. Love your podcast and think it's such a unique way of encouraging conversations between people. I'm hooked. I just wanted to pose a question that I'm hoping you'd be able to help with. My husband has a 10-year-old daughter and I see her as my bonus child. We recently had our son in July, and since he came along, the topic of whether we wanted more kids has been brought up. I've always wanted 2 of my own biologically. However, my husband is now saying he might not want more kids. How do we discuss this, as it's quite a heavy topic, and I imagine someone will end up unhappy? This is reminding me of that couple we met, and they had 5 kids. A couple of them were from a previous marriage, and then they had one together, and then actually they'd ended up having a second one together via surrogate.
Mm-hmm, I remember.
And I think there are so many different family dynamics, aren't there? Yeah. That was quite an extraordinary one. And it really got us talking about how and whether we were going to expand our family, because in a similar, and I suppose the way we can relate to what you're going through is that we've got a boy as well. And we both have had quite differing views on whether we grow our family and have more kids.
I would imagine from the couple that has sent this message in, from the male perspective, because that's what I'm going to try and give in this scenario, he's probably thinking, I've got a 10-year-old and I've just reset the clock and I've got a less than 1-year-old. He's probably thinking, do I want to do that again?
It's a timing thing.
He's probably he and by the way, I'm just kind of spitballing here on like different perspectives and thoughts that he might have, but he's got his new partner. They've had a baby together. He's probably thinking that he's kind of ticked the right boxes and that's enough almost. Whereas,
is that what you'd be thinking?
No, I'm not saying that I am, but I'm trying to, sort of break this down a little bit. I can see how that could be an option in this, and I think there is an element of sort of restarting the clock a little bit on life when you go back into the territories of having a newborn, because as we know, it just throws everything into a bit of a flat spin, doesn't it? And you've got to shuffle everything around, reprioritize. Time goes solely to the baby.
Yeah.
He was probably thinking, daughter's 10.
Yeah, I'm out the woods.
I'm getting quite close to getting some sense of life and time back. Oh no, we've just had a newborn. He's probably like, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah, because I think that is quite a common feeling. I don't think that's anything to feel guilty about admitting.
What about from a female's perspective?
Well, I think if we look at us more specifically, I always wanted to have a bigger family. I mean, my brother's one of my best friends. We're really close.
You see, what's interesting about that is that the woman said she'd always wanted to, and you just said, I always wanted a bigger family. I think men are maybe quicker to adapt to what's happened in front of them. Maybe not quicker. That's not meant to be like a positive, but it's like,
yeah,
it's interesting. You said you've always visioned or wanted.
Yes, because maybe women are always not looking for the next thing, but they've got like an ideal scenario in their mind, whereas maybe you're slightly like happier with what you've got in front of you. I mean, that's really stereotyping. I think, yeah, every family is different. I definitely envisioned having 3 or 4 kids as I was growing up, because
all with mullet haircuts.
Not with mullet haircuts. Maybe with mullet haircuts. I think because a few of my best friends when I was at school were one of 4 or 5, and they had such a fun time together. And so I love that dynamic of like each of the children bringing up the one underneath them, and for there to be like a lot of different personalities within a home. And also more than that, I just think it's really cool that you're like getting together with the person you love, and genetically you're combining and then creating this beautiful human that you love and you can raise together. And I think it is nice. I think you do you want what you know. Like, so yes, I have a brother and we're really close, so I would want that for Leo. Like, I would want him to have two. Great if it would be
Two.
Sorry, I'm not making sense. I think you want what you know. It applies in many different areas of life. Like, I will always have Cavalier King Charles Spaniels because that's what I had growing up.
Right.
I was one of two, so I would have liked to have had two at least.
Interesting.
So that there's that partnership.
So are you saying that you're trying to replicate your childhood?
I would quite like to replicate my childhood and maybe add more, because I'm trying to replicate my friends' childhoods, the ones that I really enjoyed spending time with. So maybe that's something to consider, to look at the reasons why. Like, why do you actually want to have more kids when you've got a 9-month-old?
This is slightly off topic, but I think you're quite lucky to have a sibling so close to your age, because I have brothers that are 6 and 7 years above. So
and
my
this
childhood
is why
again,
it's really great that we've got such different setups. I think that this is an interesting point. Yeah. That you almost grew up as an only child.
Yeah, but I would have looked at the likes of you and Sam, and I'd be like, oh, that looks so fun. Like, you imagine like another Ryan, but a year or two younger. Just be my mate, rolling the streets together. Oh, and now this is when you say, yes, that's why I want another kid for Leo.
Yeah.
I get it.
I am often looking at age gaps all around, and you'll know that because whenever we go to a pub or anywhere, a playground, and I see kids rolling around together, I try and work out the age gaps, and I think what is achievable for us. And I actually have met more and more people more recently that have had kids that have had a bigger age gap, and I really like talking about the pros of that because there are many. I think you get to enjoy your child more. Nice. So throughout their babyhood and throughout their toddler stages, if you're not juggling two, I have many friends who have 2 under 2, and I'm, part of me is very envious of that. But it's also nice to really give Leo our everything until he gets a little bit older, and then maybe if we were lucky enough to welcome another baby in slightly later, that we could then give them all of our attention, and that we could follow that trajectory. I think if you can lean on elements of the conversation that we've just had and try and have your own version of that, but it is tricky because you can't force people to have the conversation if it feels too soon. I think this is something that I've wanted to speak to Ryan about for a really long time. There were moments even when Leo was 6 months where I had small pockets of time where I felt quite good, and it was probably the antidepressants I was on. They made me feel surges of feeling really good and really okay. And I thought, oh my goodness, all my friends around me are having their second kids and their third kids, and I definitely want to do that too.
Yeah.
And you absolutely would not entertain that chat at all, and completely understandably, and I really respect that. And looking back now, that was ridiculous that I was even entertaining those conversations back then.
Yeah.
But also, hopefully, if you've got the kind of relationship with your partner where you are kind of open and able to have tricky conversations, then you can listen to the reasons why he might be against it, because there might be some deeply personal reasons.
Yeah.
And it's hard, being in a relationship is really hard because you can't convince the other person to share your line of thinking. And when it comes to things like, breaking up or getting a divorce or choosing to have more kids, they're big decisions. And if the person that you're in front of doesn't agree with you on that, then that is really tricky. And it's one of the reasons actually why I'm going to freeze my eggs and some embryos. And I'll be completely honest with you, Ryan. Actually, okay, we can talk about this more in another episode. But I'm going to freeze some eggs independently of also freezing some embryos. I know that there will be a lot of people listening that will be sharing the same worries as you, though.
As who?
Well, the lady who's written in.
Right.
And I have friends also who are step parents to children from previous marriages as well, which is not always easy too.
No, I don't suppose it is. Maybe you've just uncovered some topics that we should dive into on a different episode, because there's some really interesting stuff there and dynamics to different relationships and families.
Yeah, I'd love to talk more about your childhood and the fact that there's a 7-year gap between you and your brothers and what that was like.
Yeah.
And then to work out what is actually possible for us.
Yeah. Cool. Let's do that. I'll be here every Wednesday. Cool.
Oh, we got a little bit deep there, right, dog?
Yeah, that tends to happen in these love seats.
This isn't actually what a love seat is. That's
No,
like a
it's
little
not.
two-seater sofa.
We should change them to love seats, actually.
That would be cute. We'll do a little upgrade.
Yeah. We need to make some more space for guests.
Oh, we should. We could bring in a few guests. I thought you were going to say for a few more kids.
On the brain.
On the brain now. That's the problem.
Baby on the brain.
Now you've lined me up for a week full of pestering Ryan for a sperm sample.
A sperm sample.
Anyway, if you want to know a little bit more about that, you guys tune in.
We should tell them the story about the spermicidal lube.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be another conversation. Because
I basically baby trapped
Whoa,
you.
don't give it away yet.
All right, fine. See you
there
guys
is-
here, same time next week. If you're interested, follow and subscribe on your preferred platform. Thank you so much for listening.